right, welcome back everybody. Well, it was only a matter of time before I got to track 1 of Led Zeppelin II. So this is going to be it. This is Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. Probably like one of the greatest opening riffs of all riff rock ever. So I'm going to break down the primary sort of rhythm guitar that he's doing and the nuances that are involved with that if you really want to sound like the record. And then, of course, I'll break down the guitar solo as well and the details with that. So if this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, please jump down, click subscribe, ring the bell. The bell will tell you when I drop new content. I do that every single week. All my videos have chapters in it, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, just like throwing a tip in the tip jar. Or even better, you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the songs I do on YouTube, just like this one. Link's in the description, so check it out. All right, like I said, this is track 1 of Led Zeppelin II, probably the greatest opening riff to rock history. And if you consult the Book of Jimmy, or the Books of Jimmy, like this one, or this one, he talks about how in Led Zeppelin II, this is where he moves from his Fender Telecaster to the Gibson Les Paul Standard that he got from Joe Walsh, his number 1. And so this song and What She'll Never Be were the 2 songs that they recorded first. And it's sort of all the sound of the Led Zeppelin standard. Now, I'm going to show off a piece of gear here a little bit. So there's a unique pedal that's put out by Acclam. It's called the Dr. Robert pedal. And the reason I'm going to be using this is because this is meant to emulate the U series, or the 7000s, I think it's the UL 7120 Vox amp head that the Beatles were using in the Revolver sessions, and also Jimmy was using on Led Zeppelin II. So it's meant to sort of emulate the solid state preamp that amp had and give the voicing and the characteristics a little bit of that. And what's very cool about this pedal is it comes with a little booklet, and it'll like tell you, like, here's the setting for Whole Lotta Love, and here's the setting for this Joy Division song, and here's the setting for, you know, Dr. Robert, and these different Beatles songs that are, you know, songs that are using from artists that are using the record. Anyway, but it's a very cool pedal. So I'm going to dial up the settings to it. The only thing I'm doing that's different is I'm adding just a little, goosing it just a little bit on the front end with my EP booster. And I'm running it into my Vox AC15. And this is sort of the sound that I get. I've got a little bit of room reverb on there. There's a great take by Rick Beato years ago that he did on this song, where he talks about how on this song and a lot of songs in the era, like the guitar would be panned on one side, which is what's happening here, and the reverb shows up on the other side. So it's like guitar, reverb, and it makes a unique balance, and that's what happens on the record. I can't really do that here, or I'm not going to try. But I've got a little bit of room reverb on there. So that's the sound I get. If I don't have the EP boost, if I have it on, it's just a little more. But who knows what it's going to sound like on the YouTubes, but in the room, this is the closest that I can get. All right, so let's talk about the opening riff. So this is super interesting, and I think there's a lot of information on this already, but I will add to that. So the unique part of this riff, the Whole Lotta Love riff, is that you need to, if you want to sound like Jimmy, you need to actually not just play, you need to actually let that D string ring open along with what you're doing here, okay? So the sort of the unique thing when you listen close is you're going to bend up slightly on that A string at the 5th while you have that open D string ringing out. And you can sort of play with one way or the other. You can do it as a downstroke, or you can do it as an upstroke. I think I tend to do it more on the upstroke. but it doesn't matter. Just the important thing is get that in there. And if you listen real close, I think you can hear, because he's doing this, your finger, the meat of your finger, is going to touch every once in a while on that 5th fret of that D string. Going to catch, not every time, but if you listen real close on the record, you can hear that harmonic going on within that. It's so faint. Anyway, but once you hear it, you're sort of like, oh my gosh, it's there. But here you go. All right, so that's the character of the first riff. That's the most important part. And then when you land on your E power chord, you really are doing just a power chord. You're not playing anything other than the 1st string, the 5th string, and the 4th string. And the E, the low string, you're palm muting. So I think I'm catching it. I think I'm catching that E as an upstroke. So slowly. And that last time he does a 3-time. How great is that? Oh my gosh. So that's the main riff. Then the verse kicks in, and he's just sort of doubling the timing. The technique is the same. You're muting that E string, and you're just catching that 4th and 5th string. Okay, all the way up into the chorus. And this is real interesting to me. On the chorus, the rhythm guitar, I'm calling this the primary rhythm guitar here. When you listen to it isolated, and I'll play a little clip here in just a second. When you listen to it, I always thought that there was another guitar coming in and doing this on top of this, right? Well, that was going on. And when you listen to it really close, I don't think it is. I think it's one guitar. I think he's just doing it, and he's varying the strength of his picking wildly. And what I mean by that is you're going to hear this, that part, and he varies it a little bit. So one time he does, and the second time it's, and then he just sort of oscillates, mixes them up a little bit. But if you listen to the picking, the chugga 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 that's going on, he comes right back to it, and he's picking it exactly the same, I don't know how hard he was picking before. And just try and do that. It's hard. It's hard to jump to that and then come back at the same strength that you were. So here's what I'm talking about. That when he lands back on that E, it's you know what I mean? Like it's, but it's not. It's very restrained when you come back to the. Anyway, here's a little clip of it. Anyway, you see what I mean. Might be two guitars, but I don't know. You listen to it later on, you listen to the whole song, it sort of does sound like it's one guitar. And the other thing that I got when I listened to that, if it is one guitar take, if you're familiar with the Les Paul, that sound that he's getting, that's the middle pickup setting with both of them on. You know what I mean? Like I always would play this song with just the bridge. But it's sort of too harsh. And when you flip it to the middle setting, it just sounds right to me. But that tells me that he's playing it in that middle position if all of this is one take. You know, because that, when you listen to that, that definitely is a middle pickup setting on a Les Paul. All right, so that's the verses and the chorus. Rinse and repeat. He runs through it again. I'll talk about all the little lead embellishments that are happening in a little bit. You know, it goes into the long sort of drum solo and the vocal and the theremin, all of that. I'm not going to touch any of that, right? It's just... And it's John Bonham doing his hi-hat thing and the cymbals and all of that. And then it comes back to the guitar solo. And the guitar solo, what's happening, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, what's happening under it is just these big chords by the rhythm guitar. And I don't hear that low E. It's just... So in terms of like what strings you're hitting or you're hearing, it's about that far, and that's it. But you are definitely hearing that major third. Runs through the guitar solo, and then you're back into it. All right, then it goes through chorus again, does another sort of vocal instrumental, and then the big E to A, 2 chords. And what sounds right to me when you do this is you hit your E chord, bar chord this way, and then it seems to flub out a lot if you hit your if you hit that. I mean, it'll sound fine if you do that, but to me it sounds better and more clean if it's this. If you're just making the E shape from that A chord and hitting that. And I think it's up here. I don't think it's that. So it's either that or that. But that low A just messes with me. Sorry, I'm all nerdy about this. All right, and then that's it. Then it's just all the way out is the same. The only variance is he does this great little suspended on the suspended third or suspended fourth, however you say that. So he varies the riff. So the first time he launches into the riff during the outro. And now, the third time, he's going to start doing this new thing. And the first time that he does it, he sort of doesn't hit it right. He doesn't get it cleanly. But what he's going to end up doing every other time from that point on is... Right? So he'll bounce back and forth. A lot of people play it that way, because I know Page plays it. I know Page plays that as a lick on the Ocean, on the Out of the Ocean. There's that part. That whole thing. So that's in his toy box. toolbox, I should say. So that's one way you can play it. But if you want to be more economical, try playing it this way. Right there, you don't have to do the big jump. And then those same notes are here. And you can get that same sort of thing. You're sort of muting the A string with the tip of your index finger. So just another option there. Who knows what he did? Who knows? All right, that's enough of the rhythm guitar. Let's talk about the lead guitar. Okay, so there's basically two things that are happening with the lead guitar. There's an overdub with a slide that's happening during the chorus, right? Want a whole lot of love, want a whole lot of love, want a whole lot of love. Right? So that's all that is. It's just dragging it down, and it's sort of sometimes you're starting in the D, you know, on the 7th fret, and you're only playing strings 4, 3, and 2. And I'm rocking back on a volume pedal, by the way, or rocking in with the with the volume pedal. You can play with the speed a little bit. As you go into the big old instrumental. All right, then we're at our sort of guitar solo part. So here's another piece of gear that I will call out, and it's a wah-wah pedal. That's all there is. I'm using a Vox, I think it's a 847 model, new reissue sort of thing, but it's sort of like meant to emulate what they used back in the day, and he used a Vox wah pedal back in the day. And so, by the way, pro tip on when you buy a new wah pedal, you know how hard it is that you got to stomp on those things sometimes to get the thing to click on? Just take a razor blade and saw those little rubber feet that are underneath the pedal. Just saw them in half. Just cut them off, you know. So there's some there, but just cut about half of it off, and it'll make your life much more easy. Okay, so he's gonna open up, and this is like, man, this is so great. It's just, he's gonna rock that wah forward with the first sort of notes that he's doing, and then he's gonna leave it there for the whole solo. And the whole solo is just all like screaming treble because of that. It's just him rocking the wah forward and then leaving it there. Now I'm on my bridge pickup, is what I think he did for that. Okay, I'm just gonna run through it first and then we'll break it down. All right. Love Jimmy. So that is just that. Let me click this back on. So like I said, you're going to rock that wah forward, and then you're going to leave it there. You're just going to leave it there. Now I'm going to teach the solo without that because that's super harsh on my ear. That's like ice pick. So I'm gonna leave the wah off while I teach this little part here, and then we'll come back to it. But this is E minor pentatonic greatness. You start off with just your bend up here, right up, and you're going to come back that way. And again, the E minor pentatonic scale, right? That's where we're sort of living in here. We're going to start here. We're going to jump down and play a little bit in first position on that version of an E minor pentatonic. And then we're going to climb up above the, what is that, 15th, 17th fret. And we're going to finish off the rest of the solo up here, oscillating between a minor and a major, E major pentatonic. Right, so that intro. So that when you're back to the G string, it's either or whatever your flavor is, but you're catching. Yeah. And there's sort of like a swing to it, right? Dun, 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 dun. It's sort of that feel, which is kind of fun. And then down here, is the riff that's happening down there. Notice you don't hit that low E. He doesn't hit that low E on that little riff. That's where he ends it, because the other guitar is doing, and the bass is playing that E, right? It's that little thing. He has that open G string twice. And that's that part. Then we're back up here. That's back in our home E minor pentatonic position at 12. Now we're going to jump up here and we're going to lock our index finger on the 17th fret of the second string, because that's your E. And we're going to do a lot of bending, folks. A lot of bending. Jimmy talks about using Ernie ball 9s, even back in the day, and I also use Ernie ball 9s. I think I read that years and years ago when I was a kid, and that's probably why I started. I play 9s. I only play 9s, but it allows you to bend easier. But so the next riff. That's a great one. So that's like a 1.5 step bend. Maybe a 2-step bend. And then, so that's moving on our, again, anchoring on that E note there, and we're going to move across to the first string. And that's a little fun. That's now getting into major E territory. And if you want to think about it, like what's going on here, it's built around this E chord. It's that D-shaped E chord there. That makes it minor. And then this last part, these are bends. I'm pretty sure these are all bends. In terms of notes, what he's doing is, that's what he's, in terms of notes, what he's doing. And he's played that riff a lot, like in that way. You know, he's done a ton of that. But he's emulating those, or he's achieving those notes through bends, though. And then you finish it off with your pinky for that highest one. Right, so all together. And let's add the wah back in, and there you go. Well, that, my friend, was Whole Lotta Love by Led and the Zeppelins. And I hope you learned something new today. So if this is something that you like and you haven't done so yet, please jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell and give me a thumbs up. That helps me a lot. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to take on and do something similar, let me know what that is too. But until next week, take care, everybody.